We now move over to New Zealand, where tensions are rising between the country and the Cook Islands as Wellington suspends over 18 million New Zealand dollars in budget funding for the 2025-2026 year. The move comes amid deepening ties between the Cook Islands and China, a relationship that has raised security concerns for New Zealand. Foreign Minister Winston Peters' office says the funding depended on a high-trust bilateral relationship, something they now feel has been compromised. New Zealand has also halted new funding to Kiribati earlier this year as Beijing's presence in the Pacific grows. Wellington claims the Cook Islands failed to properly consult on agreements signed with China in February, which include partnerships on deep-sea mining and education, but not security. The Cook Islands says it remains committed to New Zealand as its closest partner for security and defence. It acknowledges a breakdown in communication and is working to address it. The dispute surfaces just as New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon visits Beijing for talks with Chinese leaders. He is expected to raise concerns about China's influence in the Pacific. Experts warn that cutting aid may backfire, pushing Pacific nations closer to China instead of bringing them back into alignment with New Zealand. Now let's turn to South America, where a federal police report in Brazil has accused former President Jair Bolsonaro of benefiting from an illegal surveillance scheme during his time in office. The report, made public by the Supreme Court, alleges the intelligence agency ABIN was used to target political enemies and spread fake information. Authorities say Bolsonaro was the main beneficiary, though he has not been formally charged in the case. Over 30 others, including his son, Carlos Bolsonaro, have been formally accused of criminal involvement. Police also identified ties between the surveillance network and an ongoing probe into an alleged coup attempt in which Bolsonaro is already a defendant. Carlos Bolsonaro, a city councillor in Rio de Janeiro, denies any wrongdoing, claiming the probe is politically motivated. Among the accused are ABIN's former chief, Alexandra Ramagem, and its current director, Luis Ferdinando Correa. Ramagem is accused of misusing the agency, while Correa is suspected of obstructing the investigation. The Prosecutor General's office will decide whether Bolsonaro himself faces formal charges or not. We stay in the Latin American region, where tens of thousands of Argentines march through the streets of Buenos Aires in a show of support for former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, who has begun serving a 6-year sentence under house arrest for corruption. Kirchner, who led the country for 2 terms from 2007 to 2015, remains a deeply polarizing figure in Argentine politics and a central figure in the Peronist movement. She is also seen as the chief political rival of current President Javier Milei. Supporters flooded the streets with drums, flares and banners, showing her enduring popularity among her political base. Kirchner has dismissed the corruption allegations and as politically motivated. Let's listen in to what some of the protesters had to say.
Nuestros derechos. Es Cristina libre para tener un país soberano y para que haya una auténtica justicia y una auténtica democracia. Porque es injusto lo que pasó con ella. Nada más.
Que se están mandando una cagada gigante, que están despertando esto, que es lo más peligroso que puede tener cualquier político. La van a meter en cana, la van a meter en un departamento, le van a dar domiciliaria, así, pero nosotros vamos a salir a la calle todos los días, y todos los días. Y vamos a hacer una fiesta, vamos a hacer un after en el balcón de Cristina todos los días.
Last week, Argentina's Supreme Court upheld a 2022 conviction against Kirchner for a fraud scheme involving public works in Patagonia. The ruling includes a lifetime ban from holding public office. Despite her arrest, analysts suggest Kirchner could continue to wield political influence. We move on once again. South Korea's nominee for intelligence